Listen, the Rockets are for real this season, um, and people gotta recognize that. Uh, Hold on one sec, y'all. Are they a championship team? Not quite, but they're still dangerous. Um, let's start with Ime Udoka. When we talk about the coaching and when we talk about the philosophy. Now, people thought it was crazy when Ime Udoka had came over there to Houston. I was on board with it, and here's the reason why. He has young players that are willing to learn, and that he's willing to mold. If you know anything about um, Ime Udoka and the whole Greg Popovich tree, he likes to catch players when they're young. Um, you got to think about it, and he likes to grow them all together. You know what I'm saying? So that they can be cohesive together. Um, think about it when Greg Popovich was, of course, younger. When he was younger, you had Tony Parker. You had Tim Duncan. You had Manu Ginobili. Now, of course, David Robinson was already a little bit older or whatnot, and I'm talking about when Tim Duncan had started out. But he had caught Tim Duncan when he was younger, as well as other players like role players that have came over time. And Ime Udoka comes from the Greg Popovich tree. I mean, you can see it in the style, mixed with a little bit more. He's really a lot more defensive minded. Um, but that's the thing about the Houston Rockets, why they're dangerous. While they have a good backcourt presence led by Jalen Green, they have a good front court presence led by Seguin, who both have signed deals. Um, I'm on board with Reed Shepard. I think that Reed Shepard was very slept on, and he's a very good shooter too as well, and he showed that in the preseason. Maybe not so much in college. People were taking him serious, but a guy like Reed Shepard, he's going to be a future player if he stays with Houston. You also have a solid guy in Derek Brooks, who a lot of people they don't really like his style or whatnot. I like Derek Brooks. If you're looking for Derek Brooks to be, a pretty player and to be an offensive juggernaut or to be a high flyer or athletic player, any of that other stuff, that's that you're going to be led astray. That's not what Derek Brooks has. That's not what he brings to the table. Yes, he's going to give you some scoring, but what he brings is a defensive tenacity. He brings an edge to that team, and he's no nonsense. Yeah, if you could deal with the antics and all that other stuff, you know, they'll be fine. And he gets under the skin of the opponents. You got to have somebody like that on your team in order to make the game interesting and make it ugly, and also have your team be more of a team that plays with an edge. The Houston Rockets are to be taken seriously. A lot of people didn't take them serious. Everybody's looking at them and putting them in the same light like they did an Orlando Magic team a couple years ago, like they did a Detroit Pistons team a couple years ago. Even a Cleveland Cavaliers team. They were putting them. They were putting, they tried to put them in the same category. I'm not going to do that. The Houston Rockets are a threat in the West, and on any given night, they can beat any of the top teams. I think the top team right now is OKC, if I'm not mistaken. OKC is the top team, but Houston is to be taken seriously. Now, my question is how far will they go? And I'm not going to even say if they make the playoffs. It's when they make the playoffs. Last season, you could have said if they made the playoffs because they came on a little bit too late. Of course, they had a potential. They were always somewhere hanging around. Sometimes they would be at like that number 7, between 7 and 10, and ultimately, they lost contention from being in the play-in or whatnot. But you have a young team that Ime Udoka can actually work with, and I love what Ime Udoka is doing, man. Ime Udoka, I felt like he had always got a raw deal when he was with the Boston Celtics. They should have still kept Ime Udoka, and the way that they did him was just wrong. I mean, there are a lot of coaches that have done worse than what Ime Udoka has done, but that's a whole nother story. That's neither here nor there. I digress on that situation. But spinning the block, coming back to talking about where he's at with the Houston Rockets. They're 9-4 right now, on the verge of being 10-4. If they go into the second half of the season like this, and they're playing at the momentum, and don't forget, they were on a win streak last season too. I mean, they went on a win streak. I forget how long that streak was, but if they go in with this type of momentum, they are going to be a scary team to look for. I'm not worried about the NBA Cup and the in-season tournament. I don't care about that in-season tournament, to be honest with you. I think I don't even think to me it just opens up more risk for injury. You know what I'm saying, in the regular season. So that's why I don't particularly agree with the NBA Cup and the in-season tournament. But the Houston Rockets are for real. Now, I think in the next couple of years, they might quite possibly be a championship team. Oh man, my bad. Man, see, this thing keeps doing this to me. I gotta refresh everything. I can't even see your comments. I didn't even think. What's up, Chad? You said Reed has Klay Thompson calling. I didn't know you like Dillon Brooks. Yeah, I like Dillon Brooks. Yeah, I like Dillon Brooks, man. I mean, I don't like what he does sometimes. I think like what he did to LeBron James was foul. But Dillon Brooks is he's a tenacious defender, man. He's a tenacious defender. You need a guy like that on your team, man. I liked him with Memphis. That's why I think like Memphis is really missing him. Even though Memphis can still win, I don't know how far they'll go. But when you talk about it, Dylan Brooks, he can play a little offense. Dylan Brooks can score, but that's not what he's necessarily known for. That's not what Dylan Brooks is known for. That's not his calling card. But if Dylan Brooks, you think I would pass up on an opportunity to get Dylan Brooks with the 76ers? You out your mind. I would take Dylan Brooks in a heartbeat. And if you don't take Dylan Brooks, something's wrong with you. Dylan Brooks is what Draymond Green is to Golden State. Dylan Brooks is what Patrick Beverly was to a lot of the teams that he played. Dylan Brooks is what Bill Laimbeer and to a certain extent what Joe Dumars was to the Detroit Pistons, or and in some cases, in a lot lesser case, to what Dennis Rodman is. You know what I'm saying? Because he was able to get under the skin of other opponents. Joe Dumars was just a very tenacious defender, but he played good, clean defense. He wasn't all about getting under the skin of other opponents. But Patrick Beverly, that's what he was able to do. Draymond Green, that's what he was able to do. Bill Laimbeer, that's what he was able to do. You know what I'm saying? Bruce Bowen, you need those type of players on your team. What's up with it, Octavius? Ain't seen you in a minute, man. Hope everything's good. Come on, man. Y'all got to learn how to drive out here.
Daddy.
But you gotta learn. You gotta understand that that every team needs a Dylan Brooks on their team. But anyways, it's straight to the point. Sports and entertainment, man. Like, share, subscribe. Also hit the notifications too. I'll get at y'all later.